from escapism to expansion. Let's get it.
Yeah. I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Before I begin, I just want to say I'm hosting a 3-day event in Bali, okay? In Indonesia, in Ubud, in Bali. If you're interested in training with me, or if you ever have been, this is your chance. We have like maybe 3 or 4 more spots left. So I'm just letting you know. If this resonates with you, you reach out. This is for men. I will be hosting more unisex events in the future. This is for Primal Sutra. This is for men who are interested in spirituality, but they don't want to lose their balls at the same time. They don't want to be this, mystical smoke screen type of person who's like, high all the time in the clouds, like kind of drifting away. No, man, you got to be a shaman warrior. That's what I'm looking for, man. This is what we're creating. This is a new movement. This is a new empire. This is flow state activation. So welcome. Hey there, guys. How's it going? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today, we're talking all about how to go from this escapism mentality to much more of this effervescent type of expansive mentality. So you're going from a self-suppression, in a sense, because self-escapism is a self-suppression, into a self-expansion and a self-discovery. You see, when I was younger, man, I used to be a bliss junkie, okay? I used to chase the high, chase the dopamine hit. It was just a regular thing, right? I was in such a haze and in such a cloud that I couldn't ground myself. I couldn't physicalize myself in this current reality. I felt very in my mind, in my upper chakras, rather than very centered, very calm, very stoic. I understood that one of the things that was kind of holding me back my entire life was this mindset of escapism, that I wanted convenience, comfort, and an easy option, an easy way out, rather than doing the hard work. I had a negative ideation around the word hard, meaning it would be difficult. But if I already perceived hard to mean difficult, that means I would stay away from it. But what if I associated hard with toughness, with solidity? A rock is hard. Why can't I associate it with solidity and foundation? So once I started to reframe and look at reality in a new way, it started to change everything, man. One concept that I've been holding on to that really changed my idea and ideas around the world, the planet, about the self, is this concept called biocentrism, okay, by Robert Lanza. If you've ever heard of this topic, you will understand what exactly I'm talking about. Biocentrism is this idea that the universe does not create consciousness. Consciousness creates the universe. So that means your mind, your consciousness, is creating and determining your reality. Now, as I understood this new framework, this new perspective, you could say, of looking at the world, I was looking into a lot of occult sciences, so like Hermeticism and things like this, where they teach you about the principle of mentalism, which is all is mind. Okay, all is mind. Everything started from the mind. And this is a similar concept, a similar idea. When I got out of the mentality of I'm trying to avoid something, I'm trying to push it away, into more of, wait a minute, I am the cause point, right? I am the ripple effect. I am the one that holds all responsibility for how my reality is. Instead of being in this victim mode of escapism, of being like, yeah, that always happens to me, or being in the swamp mentality, okay, as I call it. There's something called a swamp mentality. A swamp mentality is murky, it's dark, it's lower consciousness, it's stagnant waters, algae's growing there, okay? Lots of muddiness and thickness and dense, heavy energies. Now think of a river. A river is clean, fresh, feeling good, moving. Okay, constantly the water is flowing. Each swamp, it's still water. It's stale, stagnant water. It's going to grow mold. So when you're in the flow state mentality, you're in this river mentality of like getting better and expanding yourself and wanting to improve. But when you're in this escapism mentality, you get into actually a deep depression. And instead of a post-traumatic stress disorder, this is almost a pre-traumatic stress order that is created through the escapism. Escapism, essentially, you don't want to feel the feelings, the negative feelings that you have inside of you, and so you try to escape from reality. What if you could escape into the now? What if you could escape into the present moment and live there? You see, I didn't have a good relationship with the present moment back then because I was living in my head, I was living in my thoughts, in my mind, in my imaginations, in my fantasies, rather than actualizing things. So I was living in a fabrication, like a made-up, twisted reality in my mind, whereas my ultimate, true reality wasn't matching up with the thoughts that I had. But when I changed my self-perception, everything started to shift. So instead of thinking that, oh man, I'm addicted to all of these things, what if my thoughts at the time was, hey, what if I was never addicted to any of these? What if I never picked up a cigarette or drank in my life or did any of these different things, okay? What if, ask yourself that question in the positive. Can you convince yourself that you never picked up a drink, that you never did the bad habits that you do, that you never even discovered pornography? Another thing to actually live in this law of assumption, and then actually you're seeing yourself in the mirror as this overweight person, and you're thinking, oh man, you know, I'm not addicted to junk food, but my body's reflecting that. Yes, the body and the mind are linked. Okay, the subconscious mind is the body. So once you flush and detox and do the actual inner work that a lot of people don't do, actually, they stay, that's another escapism, I think. You know what I mean? It's like people who avoid that murky gunk of the subconscious mind, the issues, the problems, they'll play in video game for hours just to deal with that, or they'll go out and drink to seek that feeling of loneliness or, you know, compulsion in a sense. Even social media addiction, right? That is a cause of some of these symptoms too. And so I started to slowly get into more mindful practices, man. Like I would just start doing breath work and chanting mantras and, you know, doing qigong exercises and, you know, doing these internal alchemy or these tantric practices, right? And of course I experimented in college and different things like this. That's besides the point. You know, that was again an escapism, right? It was a way for me to cope instead of actually thrive, right? We want to go from coping to thriving, and that was the main shift for me. You got to ask yourself this question, man. How do I see myself? The answer starts there. It's the self-perception. How do I see myself? Hey, there were some few misunderstandings in my past, you know, and, you know, I could have gotten into big trouble. But then did I label myself as a bad person? Did I really label myself as a bad person? And did I truly believe and assume? That's how the law of assumption works negatively as well against you, right? So you're assuming things about you that's creating your reality. That's the law of assumption, way greater than the law of attraction in my personal perspective. And it's the same, it's linked, it's interlinked together. So again, this biocentrism mentality of, you know what? If I'm hurting one person, I'm hurting everybody. If I'm hurting myself, I'm hurting the world, the planet. If I'm loving myself, I'm loving the entire planet and the world. This is also how it works. You got to understand that there's a specific way that a lot of us function. And we have these predetermined strategies or preconceptions in our mind, thinking it's got to be like this. Basically, our assumptions. So if you assume that, hey, this person smiled at me, that means they like me and they want to talk to me. What if you made that assumption? Now that assumption changes your reality. You're now going to be more sociable, smile more at people, maybe talk to others, right? If you have cognitive distortions or cognitive biases, then you'll be like, oh yeah, all women are like this. No, man, that won't work for me. Look, you'll have some rationalization or excuse, okay? Now, again, rationalizations, you got to take it easy on yourself, man, because rationalizations is just a defense mechanism. You just want to feel safe. You just want to feel at one with things, man. You know what I mean? So don't be so hard on yourself. I think a lot of us, we live in a culture that's way too hypercritical, and we get so down on ourselves for that. But rather, we need to be the one who sets the coordinates straight. What if you assumed that having psychic powers were possible? What if you assumed that flow state was your religion? What if you assumed that your lifestyle was one of ease and prosperity? Start assuming the reality that you prefer rather than how reality has been set for you. Biocentrism is really about this idea that the external world cannot control me anymore. It is only my internal that is going to determine the outside. And with that, I'll leave you pondering on this a little bit longer. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you're new to the channel, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and shoot me a message if you're gonna head to the Bali retreat for 3 days in November. Shoot me a message. Let's go. Upward spiral.